This is the solution to the exercise in Lesson 13. There's actually quite a bit of instructions here, so I'm just going to run through them while, one at a time. As you read through the exercise, I'm going to do each one step by step. So it says that we need to create a Windows application. So I'm going to do this, create new project, Visual C# projects, Windows application. We're going to call this Lesson 13 EX. Click OK. And what I'll need to do is add a class named Customer. So that's easy enough to do, right? We'll just select Add Class, and we'll give it the name Customer. Click Open. Okay. The first thing that we're supposed to do is create a private field called Name. So here we'll go a private string name. The next thing we're supposed to do is create a constructor that displays a message box with the message customer.constructorCalled. So that's easy enough. Our constructor code is already here. All we'll need to do is go system.windows.forms.messagebox.show, and we'll type in customer.constructor called. Okay, the next thing that it asks us to do is create an overloaded constructor that allows the user of the class to set the value of name at the time the class is created. Okay, we know that that's easy enough. All we need to do is create another method called customer, and this time we just need to change the method signature, which we'll do by passing in name. And the next instruction is create a constructor that displays a message box with the message overloaded customer constructor called. So we'll use this one. We don't need to create a third one. Windows.forms.messagebox.show, and here we're going to type in customer dot or I guess it's overloaded. I can type, okay. Alright, so I think we've satisfied that requirement. And now it says that we should create a destructor that displays the message box with the message customer.destructorCalled. So do you remember how to create a destructor? We'll do customer, and here we'll go system.windows.forms.messagebox.show, and we'll type in customer.destructorCalled. Alright, go ahead and save my work up to this point. The next thing that we need to do is make some changes to the form. So let's open that up. It says add a button to the form, and in the button's click event, create a new instance of the customer class. That's easy enough. We'll drag and drop a button onto our design surface. Double click here, and we just need to create a new instance of our customer class. So here we go, customer cust equals new customer. Okay, the next instruction is to add a text box and a second button to the form, and in the button's click event, create a new instance of the customer's class, passing in the value of the text box to the overloaded constructor. That's easy enough. Let's do this. We'll put in a text box and another button. Hardest thing is remembering what these are called. Let's go ahead here and go customer cust equals new customer, and this time we'll use the second constructor, passing in the string, the name. So here we go, text box 1.text. Okay, and then we need to perform a check in the overloaded constructor. If the value of the text box is empty or blank, then display a message box alerting the user that a name for the customer is required. So it says that we're supposed to perform the check in the overloaded constructor. Now, ideally, in a real-life situation, you'd want to keep those kinds of checks here at this level, and possibly as well in the method itself, in the underlying customer class. We'll talk more about how to add structure exception handling much later in this lesson series, so we're not going to worry about that for right now. I'm just trying to give you an idea of what the typical way you would do that is. So what I want to do is go to my overloaded constructor here, and I'm going to go if name, since that's the value that's been passed in, dot length is 0, so length will tell me how long the string is. Then we need to alert the user that there's a problem. Please enter a name. Otherwise, it says in the next instruction, if the value of the text box is not empty, set and display the value of name in a message box. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is set the value of name, so we'll do this. Name equals name. So our private member variable will be set to whatever value is passed into our parameter for our constructor method. And then we need to display that value in a message box as well. Okay, so now it's time to test our application and see what happens. Alright, the first one is our button 1 click event, which will just use the constructor, the first constructor we created, the default constructor, so we get that message box. And then here we'll type in Bob and click button number 2. This time you can see it's the overloaded constructor gets called, and we get that line of code that we just typed in where it displays the value of underscore name. Very cool. So now let's just change this and blank this out completely and hit button 2, and it says the overloaded customer constructor called, and it says please enter a name. So it seems like all of our code works. Let's test our destructor. Should be destructing about 3 things, but these are going to happen in pretty quick succession, and even the last one I didn't get to click because the .NET framework pulled it out of memory, or the garbage collector did. So that is the solution to exercise 13. I hope you got pretty close, and thank you for trying.